How you going? While making my wet palette video, which you probably would have seen, or hopefully anyway, I walked past the local advertiser and wouldn't you believe it, I saw what appeared to be a plastic kit right on the shelf out front. Went over to go have a look, and it turns out there was a Warhammer for the Age of Sigmar series, more of a beginner thing, for like only $6, which is a pretty good deal. So I picked it up, and this is going to be, as you may or may not know, a bit of an unscripted video, but let's crack it open and see what we got. On the back, it does show that there are going to be more issues, so this appears to be like the weekly subscription thing which they did in previous years. There was another Age of Sigmar, and then there was two Warhammer 40k ones a couple years prior. There is going to be a new Warhammer one, I think it's called the Combat Patrol, which is going to be later out this year for Australians. But as you can see, there are a few of the issues on the back and all that. Starting off with the boring stuff, it does come with a couple of books and such. It does come with a list showing, giving a bit of lore, how to play the game and all that. It also does come with quite a large poster, a little army list to show everything you can collect over the entire issue, as well as a mat to play your games on. Bringing it around to the plastic crack and cracking it open, we do have 6 dice, which is interesting to come with, 3 base plates, 2 normal size and then 1 miniature, as well as the 3 miniatures themselves, which is overall pretty good, but let's get into it. Now, what is interesting to see is that the Stormbringer himself does come with 2 optional parts, which isn't listed at all in the booklet or anything, which is quite interesting to see. He does come with a mace and an extra head. And for the robe of the Stormbringer, I just wanted to add a little bit of extra plastic cement just to seal together the robe section so it looks more clearly. Now, with all 3 of those all done, let's go out and go get them primed. Back from the priming, and I just hit him with a quick grey sear from the Citadel line. And now starting off the first guy, which is going to base coat with a Balthasar Gold. And now I just want to hit all the robe sections and the top shoulder pads with a Leviathan Blue in the contrast paint range. Now, when making these, I once realized how well a wet palette is, and I really do suggest making one yourself. As before, I just use a plastic Tupperware lid, and overall the paint dried just incredibly fast in there, and it just wasn't as good when it comes to thinning out your paints and all that. As well as also probably picking up some medium, either making some at home or picking some up from Citadel. It really does do wonders on miniatures. I never realized how well it is, because I thought you could just hit it with a plastic Tupperware, but I really do admit it is such a perfect way to start miniature painting. Now with all that out of the way, I just want to quickly go over with some white inside the robes, as well as a little paper section on his back, as well as the scrolls on his torso. And finishing up on the base coat, just some Tamiya brown for the book as well as the handle of the staff. And down near the bottom, I wanted to give, or it is in the pictures, I wanted to give the little robe section a white trim with the lightning bolts as well. It was a bit difficult at first, however I started getting used to it after a while. And now I want to edge highlight just the tops of the armor as well as the staff in a white. Unfortunately, I don't have any brighter bronzes, so the white will just have to do, but even then it still looks quite nice. And finishing off, I just wanted to completely lather him in a nice nun oil to pick out all the highlighted areas and also just give a bit more depth in the lower down section. Headed over to the base now. I started off with an XV88 and was going to dry brush some Zandari dust. However, these colors looked almost identical by the end of it, so I just went over it with a Wraithbone as a quick highlight just to bring out all the edges. And once again, just finishing off the base to add some nun oil just to darken the gaps in between the bricks. As the base was looking quite dusty, I just topped it off with a little bit more Wraithbone on top, and then I also dry brushed on a mix of all 3 colours onto the base of the robe as if it's been blowing around in the dust, giving it a bit more of a realistic effect instead of just being a completely clean looking model on a very dusty looking base. Over to the next model now, and this guy is going to be I'm guessing the Orcs version of the 40k guys, but for Age of Sigmar. But we're just going to be base coating him in a metallic lead belcher, just all over for all of his armor. Now we're going to hit it up for a Zandari dust. Unfortunately, I don't have any grains for the golem. However, the Zandari dust did do quite a good job at portraying a somewhat pale greenish skin tone for him. And now we're going to finish the base coat off with just once again going over with the Tamaya flat brown for the cloth section of his armor. Next up, we're going to slap an absolute ton of nun oil all over his shield and all over his armor, give it a bit more of a gritty, oily look, but also bring out all the detail of the face within his shield. After that's all dried, we're going to go over with a Blood Angel contrast red for the shield as itself, and it turns it into a really nice metallic red, which I was quite surprised by. I was expecting it to be quite dark, as it's more of a bloody color than a light red, but overall I think it did a really good job on it. And now finishing off with a bit more edging. We're going to go over with just a bit of white again, right on the tips of the helmet, the spike on the front, and his blade. Onto the third model now. I'm guessing this guy's a bit of an Orc Chief guy, which does show on the box. I do pay attention more to 40k, so I have no idea about any of this Age of Sigmar stuff. But I'm just starting off by base coating him with a lead belcher on all of his weapons, like the tips of the axe and the base, as well as all of his helmet and his shoulder pads and all the metal sections all over his body. And just like the last model, we're going to be going over with some Zandari dust again as a skin tone. And just like previously, this guy is going to be pretty much the exact same color scheme as the mini guy, since they're both in the same faction, but we'll just be going over some Tamaya flat brown for all of the leather scrap areas all over him. And now, just like a broken record player, we're going to completely lather the guy in the nun oil to bring out all the detail. And even more of a broken record player, we're going to be going over with some Blood Angels red contrast paint for the shield. Now, to continue on the edging streak, I've once again brought out some white and just done a edge on all the corners of his weapons, like the blade, the top of the blade, the little base section, as well as the spikes all over his helmet, and just anywhere else where I can catch any lines. Onto the base now. Instead of going with the original idea, I went with just the XV88 and then dry brushing with Wraithbone over top. Once that was all dry, I then finished off with the Balthasar Gold for the armor, and then cleaning everything up with a bit of nun oil and a little bit of dry brush afterwards. Now, with all three of those guys done, overall I think I did a pretty good job for a first time using a wet palette and all that. This is only my second, set of models doing, so I feel like I did a pretty good job. However, I wish it was 40k so I could actually use it in my army. But for 3 models, 2 like hero guys and then just 1 minion, 6 dice, a playing map, a book full of lore, how to play the game and the instructions, as well as a little list to name all of your army bits here, I think overall it's a pretty solid deal. I think it might even counter the introductory set for most of the other things, because normally they're around $80 or so. With only spending $6 and then buying yourself the paints that you want to paint them, I think it's a really good idea for anyone who's interested in the hobby but doesn't want to buy several models and then end up not liking halfway through, you know what I mean? Just instead of wasting more money. But that's all I got for now. A bit of more unscripted stuff, but catch you around next time. See ya.